You know, when you think about world-changing ideas, you probably picture some huge success story, right? Well, this story, it doesn't start like that at all. It actually kicks off with a pretty spectacular failure. And that failure, weirdly enough, ends up being the key to unlocking a guaranteed future. All right, so let's dive right into that failure. We're talking about a project that made one of the boldest claims you could possibly dream up. Okay, so back in 2019, this crowdfunding campaign pops up. It's called End Hunger Now, and its goal was, well, it was beyond audacious. They weren't just talking about feeding people, they were claiming they had a fix for most of the world's problems. I mean, huge, right? But that massive dream, it just slammed into a wall. After years of campaigning, it raised a grand total of $386. But here's the thing that's so wild about this. The core idea behind the campaign, it was actually genius. It was all based on this crazy paradox. Every single day, we waste more food than it would take to feed every single person on Earth. So the problem isn't that we don't have enough food. It's that the system for getting it to people is just fundamentally broken. So what was their big solution? It was this really elegant sell one, give one kind of model. They called it the Sustainable Food Engine. The idea was pretty simple. You sell 1 million healthy meals at regular price, then you take the profits from that to completely fund a second million meals. And that second million, you give it away for free. The whole thing was designed to be this self-funding, infinite loop that could just keep going and growing, all around the world. And to get this whole world-changing engine started, to get it to the point where it could run forever on its own, they crunched the numbers. And the absolute bare minimum they needed, just $18,000. That was it. That was the magic number. But that huge vision for just 18 grand, it only connected with 5 people. That's it, 5. The entire $386 came from just 5 donors. One of them, who pitched in $10, even wrote, "Please help make this a reality. It takes such little commitment with so much to gain." Kind of heartbreaking, right? So that really leaves us scratching our heads, doesn't it? You've got this grand vision, a problem everyone agrees on, and a super detailed, logical plan. So why did it fail so epically? Well, that failure, that's not the end of the story. It's actually our first big clue. All right, so our first clue is a plan that totally bombed. Let's see where this rabbit hole goes because, trust me, the story is about to get a whole lot weirder. So as we dig deeper, this investigation starts to look like a really strange puzzle. We find 2 other projects that pop up, and on the surface, they look like they're from completely different universes. On one hand, you've got this huge global blueprint for building futuristic crypto communities. And on the other, a little local brownie fundraiser in Jerusalem. I mean, what? Yeah, at first glance, you'd think there's no way they're connected. But when you start to pull on the threads, the connections are just impossible to ignore. They share similar names like Plant Pure. They were both started in the exact same year as the Hunger Campaign. And get this, they even use the same website builder. Come on, those aren't just coincidences. Something else is going on here. So what in the world connects a failed plan to end hunger, a blueprint for futuristic cities, and a local brownie sale? Well, it turns out they're not separate projects at all. They're all different ways of expressing one single really powerful idea. And here's the core of that idea. It argues that our biggest problems, we're talking war, poverty, hunger, they're not actually caused by a lack of stuff. They're just symptoms of a mindset that's been wired into us for centuries, this scarcity mindset. It's this deep, often unconscious belief that there just isn't enough to go around, which, forces us to compete, to fight, to hoard. And the flip side of that coin, the counter-argument, is that we're basically just running on outdated survival software. We're stuck in this scarcity mode when we're actually living in what you could call an abundance reality. The philosophy says we already have the tech. We already have the resources to build a world where everyone thrives. The real problem isn't making more stuff. It's upgrading our collective mindset from scarcity to abundance. Okay, so if the real problem is a global mindset, how in the world do you even begin to fix that? The answer they came up with isn't some big abstract theory. Nope. It starts with something you can actually touch and feel. You start with something you can hold in your hand. The philosophy is, look, you can't really think about changing the world if you're worried about your own basic needs. So this whole path to peace, as they call it, begins with your own personal health. And this miracle bar, it's designed to be that tangible first step, a tool to solve that fundamental individual need for good nutrition. And from there, this blueprint just unfolds in this really logical way. It's designed to scale up, starting with one person's health and going all the way to building entire self-sufficient communities. So you start with personal health, right? And once that's sorted, it opens the door to caring for the land around you. That leads to building sustainable farms, which then gives you the foundation to create brand new, self-sufficient societies. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. A new philosophy is great, but it's not enough on its own. To actually pull off a vision this big, at scale, you need a totally new kind of engine to run it. So to power this whole thing, a new class of tech was created. It's called GENII. That stands for Generated Intentional Intelligence. And that word, intentional, that's the whole key. This is an AI system built from the ground up to understand human purpose, first and foremost. The big aha moment, the conceptual breakthrough, came from this ancient quote, "Torah isn't in the cloud." And what that means is that real human wisdom, the messy, irrational, emotional, contradictory stuff that makes us human, you can't just upload that to a server. Standard AI runs on cold, hard logic, which means it completely struggles with the very human ideas of purpose and intent. And that is what makes GENII so different. Think about a standard AI, like a logistics engine. It's amazing at answering questions like what, how, when, and where. But GENII is designed to be an intent engine. It completely flips that model on its head. It starts by asking the most important question first. Who? Who is this person? What's their core purpose? What drives them? Because if you understand the why before you get to the what, all the answers that follow are completely different. And this whole new system? It's guided by this core ethical framework that is just profoundly simple. Just 3 rules. 1, do no harm. 2, do good if you can. And 3, if you are ever unsure, just ask. Okay, so we've got a new philosophy and a new kind of AI. But how does all this abstract stuff connect back to the real world? Well, it all comes down to a very concrete and, honestly, pretty unbelievable guarantee. They call it the Ask Q challenge. Q stands for quantum intelligence. And check this out, here's how it works. You tell it your goal and you tell it your budget. The GENII system then gives you a step-by-step plan to get there. And here's the crazy part, the guarantee. You will achieve your goal within 3 years and you'll double your investment every single year. And if for some reason you don't, you get 100% of your money back. And that's not just a promise. It's secured by actual real-world assets like cash in the bank or real estate. Now, this whole idea of building new societies from scratch, it's actually happening in the real world, right? You've got these tech billionaires building their own private startup societies. But this project feels like a philosophical counterargument to that. Critics see that billionaire trend as this really insular, we're escaping kind of fantasy. This system, on the other hand, is designed to be a totally open platform for literally anyone. And it doesn't start with some grand exit from society. It starts with something as simple as a brownie or a nutrition bar. And that really brings us to a fundamental choice, especially now with technology moving at this insane speed. Are we going to lead with human wisdom? Are we going to put our values and our purpose first by always asking who before we do anything else? Or are we just going to hand the keys over to cold logic, optimize for what, and just, see what happens? The question of who's really sitting in the driver's seat, well, it has never been more important than it is right now.